if you're new here, my name is Daiki. I'm a travel and concert filmmaker trying to capture the beautiful moments in our day-to-day lives. A marketing agency on behalf of Ralph Lauren reached out to me a month or so ago to create a campaign around Polo Blue and Polo Red, trying to position Ralph Lauren fragrances in the world of sports. At first, when they reached out to me, I was quite confused and perplexed. I'm not a fashion influencer. I know nothing about perfumes. I have two. And I don't do sports, as you can tell from my flimsy arms. I was both overjoyed but also stressed because I still had no idea what I was going to do.
And a walk onto the court?
I think this process could be broken down into 5 steps: the attempt at ideation, the music production, the pre-production of the shoot, the actual shoot, and finally the edit. And I'll go through all my thought process for all of this, and I'm sure you could skip around in the video timestamps. You know the deal.
On paper, it sounded pretty easy, you know, just perfume, tennis, maybe you hit the perfume bottle, I don't know, but I had no idea what to do. I was at a blank. The way I usually like to make videos is I really like to storyboard out the whole thing from start to finish. Usually when I come up with video ideas, I have a very clear idea of how the sequences are gonna go, but I really couldn't figure it out for this one, and it's really stumping me.
And Julian, if you just play as normal, but try to stay like inside the court.
Because I really wanted to impress them and blow this out of the water, I knew that I wanted to make an original track. I worked with some amazing musicians to make an original score for my short film a couple years ago, and I thought, why not do the same thing for this video? So I reached out to my dear producer friend, Gallo, to see if he would be down to help out. The idea for the music was centered around combining 2 different genres of music that I really liked, and it felt very Ralph Lauren tennis. On one side, there was sort of this resurgence of swing, especially on social media, with like Can I Call You Rose and all these other songs. I really liked how sexy it felt. In my head, it really fit the vibe of tennis and Ralph Lauren. And I also really wanted that sexy Spanish guitar vibe, and felt that that also would fit with the Ralph Lauren vibe. And so I tasked Gallo this seemingly impossible task of blending swing beat with Spanish guitar. Here's what he had to say.
What's behind this song? Okay, the main thing that we have to take into account in this song is that it's like a waltz, you know, a 6/8, where the tempo counting is like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And it's like a waltz, you can dance to it. Okay, that was the main thing. Once we found out that we needed a 6/8 time signature to make the rhythm of the song, well, I thought that it would be a cool idea to mix it with a more Latin sound, you know, like. Like something that you would hear from a record from, I don't know, Colombia, Venezuela, the rest of South America. It has this really characteristic form of playing, you know. Then once we had the harmony, the time signature, we needed a catchy intro. It was meant for TikTok and Instagram, so you need a catchy intro that gets the attention of the people watching, so they keep watching. So messing around with some samples, with the drum samples, like maybe I think it was a kick sample that I turned it into reverse. We made this intro, and then we enter with the melody. No 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 no. So it was that, like the reverse kick and the drum samples, like it sounds kind of like a heart pumping, you know, like. And we mix that with it was like something. That's the one. It's like like a really, it's kind of flamenco too, if you think about it. It's like, and then stop, you know? And then we enter with the melody. It was... Okay, let's talk about the bass a little bit. The bass is like pretty basic Latin bass, you know? We made that like that little motif, you know, at the end of every 4 bars, like bam, 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 bam. It gives it like a little personality, you know. So because otherwise it's just a loop, you know. So the main thing, the main protagonist here is that lead guitar, no. Heavily inspired by the music of Narcos, you know. This whole thing, like, it became really popular. No? I don't know how I came up with that melody. I think it was just improvised, and once I had like the main body of the idea improvised, I just like started to correct little notes of the melody, so it is a melody. It's not like just me like playing whatever I think about. The sound of the guitar is very characteristic. It's like, it's a tremolo twang, surf. It's a surf sound, like from the 50s and 60s, like the Beach Boys or the Monkees or those kinds of bands, you know. It's a tremolo twang, classic, and it fits really well with the Latin American vibe, you know. Almost, you could also use like a steel guitar. It's used in a lot of these kind of records. And what else? What else I can tell you? Just I said everything that is about the song. And then he stops.
In addition to making what is arguably a masterpiece of music, this actually really helped me visualize the story. It really helped me get over this creative block. I think also just focusing on a different genre and a different discipline of creativity helped me unblock my filmmaking. And with this backing track in mind, I was able to really storyboard and really plan out the shots in my head exactly as how I wanted it to be. So I think like within like a day or two after receiving the song, I had the final storyboard, final shot list ready.
The timing of you guys was perfect. Yeah.
In parallel to this, there was the third phase that was going on, which is pre-production. Pre-production for this, because it's really just a 30-second video. It wasn't too difficult. The main things that I needed were, I needed a model, I needed a location, and I needed extras. The model and the extras, thankfully, my friends are amazing and that made it super easy. So model, Julian Saad, very, very good looking, talented model, amazing friend. Thank you so much, Julian, for getting involved. And the extras, my amazing friends, thank you all for being involved as well. It really meant a lot that you were there. And the next part was location. I didn't know anything about tennis courts in Madrid. Last time I touched a tennis racket was probably like 10 years ago. But thankfully, I got a lot of input from friends, colleagues at work on several locations. And luckily, the one location that I really wanted to shoot in, because they had this like sick looking tennis stadium, was also the location that Julian used to train at. and he knew some of the coaches, and we managed to get the tennis stadium relatively simply. It was going a lot smoother than I thought it would be, and it was a little bit suspicious, but I was putting that doubt away and I was getting ready for the shoot. I wish I filmed more BTS, or my thought process during shoots. I tend to just focus and dial straight in. I'm really like just switched on, I'm dialed in during shoots, so I don't really have that much bandwidth to film myself and film my thought process. I wish I did, but it was pretty smooth. I already had the shot list in mind. My friend Anna also helped me with a secondary idea, so we actually managed to film 2 different video concepts in the 1 hour that we had. Weather was absolutely beautiful. This was absolutely amazing, except for one small thing, which was the tennis court is covered in logos. And the brief explicitly said to not include any other logo other than Ralph Lauren. And so I knew that I was in for a treat in post-production.
Yeah, I'll say it.
So post-production, because again, I knew exactly what I wanted, and also the song was already decided because we made the song ourselves. That cut a lot of the time because I knew exactly where the clips were going to be. I knew exactly what clips I wanted in what order already, so that was really simple. Color grading as well was really straightforward.
95% of the post-production process was spent painstakingly editing out every single one of the logos from the background. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this. This was a painful process. This was so painful. You know, one of the shots where I'm like walking in here to do like a handshake, that shot, because I was moving and Julian was moving in front of the logos, that took, I think, 3 hours probably to edit out. I'm not a VFX guy. I was doing this for the first time, and my God, that was painful. I know someone in the comments will be pointing out a more efficient way to do this, but I had no idea. I tried DaVinci Resolve's magic mask, but it wasn't perfect. And so what I ended up doing was manually editing out frame by frame in Photoshop. I know this wasn't the most efficient way, but at least instead of relying on software to do it, I knew that if I did it frame by frame, and if it wasn't perfect, that's not a software issue, that's just a skill issue. And I wanted the burden to be at least on me. And I wanted full control over the mask, so that's what I did. In the end, it's not like perfect. I'm not gonna win an Oscar for VFX anytime soon. But it was good enough for social media, and if you're watching it a couple times, unless you know what you're looking for, I don't think you notice the errors as well.
Editor Daiki here, breaking down the post-production. Let's get started. And so the post-production process was really just, firstly, putting all the clips where they needed to be, and then identifying all the shots that needed a little bit of VFX, and then applying the VFX in the end. So as you can see here, I've disabled the VFX shots really quickly. I knew while shooting that I would need to remove all the logos in post. So what I made sure while filming was to make as many of the shots as possible static shots. That way it would be a lot easier to edit out the logos because all I need to do is kind of take a still, remove them in Photoshop and overlay the removed bits on top of the video footage, and you'll see this in a bit as well. But if we just scrub through the timeline, because I had a really good idea of what I wanted with this video, it wasn't too difficult and it wasn't too time consuming to put together the first pass of the video, which is super simple. Some of these shots I knew that I wanted to be slow motion, but also I filmed them in I filmed these clips at a higher frame rate just so that I can slow them down in post later, and this shot as well I wanted in slow motion, so that's why. So that's pretty much the base pass of the edit. It was really straightforward, and now we go into the beautiful VFX shots. So if I enable the VFX shots, you can see all the logos are magically gone. How did I do this? The way I did this was essentially, it might make more sense if I disable the bottom layer over here. As you can see here, it's a PNG. It's just an image overlaid on top of the original footage. And this image, if I like move it up and down, you'll see as well. Whoops, wrong one. If I move it up and down, you'll see it's just an image overlaid on top of the footage. And what I did was I took a still frame of this and I brought it into Photoshop and just edited out the logos, used the content aware fill, used the Gen AI fill sometimes when it's a little bit trickier to edit out all the logos. And I essentially did that for every single shot. So again, over here, as you can see, the before, here's the before, and here's the after with all the PNGs there. And that is repeated across the entire video. The most difficult one for me was the shot I mentioned earlier where I'm walking in front. So the way I tackled this clip was in a few steps. So firstly, I wanted a clean slate to cover all the logos, but that meant that obviously our heads will be cut off. And then what I did was then make another layer that was just us to be overlaid on top. So if I remove all of this, you can see it's just like a clean slate of us. Obviously, you might notice at the bottom is not perfect, but all I really cared about was this square over here. So anything like outside of this, it didn't need to be perfect. All that needed to be perfect was just the heads, because that's where the logos were. And so the way I did this was by going into Photoshop and frame by frame, masking and painting out Julian and I out of the background. I know that there is the magic mask in DaVinci Resolve, but no matter how many times I tried it, it wasn't perfect. And so I just wanted it to be on me to make it frame by frame perfect, instead of having to pray that this auto detect worked, because it really didn't. And the final layer over here is just to mask out the logos at the top over here. And that goes into the timeline as so. Color grading, super straightforward, just pretty much just Cineprint. And as usual, of course. And it worked out so beautifully for the shots, and I made sure everything was filmed pretty consistently. Lighting really didn't really change, so not many edits were needed, and that was a great shoot.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. We ended up with 2 variations. The client decided that they wanted one, which made sense. The other was a little bit crazy, but I'll show you both now. Thank you again so much for watching. Thank you, Ralph Lauren, for giving me this amazing opportunity, and hope you enjoy these 2 videos.